Crimes of the Powerful vlog presentation. The topics covered in this presentation will be: what do we mean by crimes of the powerful? The scale and impact of crimes of the powerful, white-collar crimes, criminological theories of white-collar crimes, cybercrime, corporate crime, policing white-collar crime, criminological theories of corruption, and political corruption. What do we mean by crimes of the powerful? Crimes of the powerful can be described as crimes which are perpetrated by those higher up in society, who have an elevated level of trust pertaining to their job or social stature. These criminals can include CEOs, politicians, or in some instances, whole organisations. Sutherland, 1940, described white-collar crime as a crime committed by a person of respectability and high social status in the course of his occupation. These crimes are ordinarily non-violent. However, they do cause a major amount of distress to victims, usually financially. The crimes in this field are normally known as white-collar crimes and include fraud, embezzlement, misappropriation of funds, as well as workplace-type crimes in areas such as construction, where cheaper materials are used or safety standards are either breached or not up to standard, which may end in the severe injury or death of workers or consumers. These crimes also take place for businesses to cut costs and to save time and money. The scale and impact of crimes of the powerful, white-collar crimes. Sutherland, 1940, believed that the financial cost of white-collar crime was more than likely larger than all other crimes that are typically regarded as real crime problems. As well as economic costs, other major impacts from white-collar crime can include physical injuries to employees and consumers, environmental damage, along with societal harm through a breach of trust from those who are in positions of power, such as CEOs and politicians. One company that has ticked all of the boxes to inflict forms of physical injury to consumers and workers, as well as massive amounts of environmental damage worldwide from white-collar crime for over 1 century, is Monsanto. It seems that although their products and actions have serious detrimental effects, due to their size and financial power, Monsanto is able to pay their way out of long-term organisational distress and bully those who stand up against them into conceding defeat. Monsanto's worldwide power has effectively influenced the course of history. Monsanto has been involved with many major companies. They introduced a poison saccharin to Coca-Cola in 1901, and though the government knew of the toxic nature of the chemical and attempted to stop the use of the chemical for human consumption, Monsanto won the court case and continued to supply Coca-Cola with the poison. In the 1940s, Monsanto was invited to collaborate research into the use of uranium in the Manhattan Project's first atomic bomb. This was later dropped on both Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing numerous ground troops and poisoning millions more. In the 1950s, Monsanto worked closely with the Walt Disney Company and created a number of attractions built with non-biodegradable and toxic plastics. In the 1960s, Monsanto collaborated with another chemical company and invented Agent Orange, a toxic chemical laced with deadly dioxin. This eventually led to hundreds of thousands of deaths, injuries, and birth defects. Though they were taken to court, Monsanto was allowed to present their own research that showed that dioxin was safe and the court threw the case out. The National Soft Drink Association was given evidence in the 1980s that liquid aspartame was not only deadly, but was also much more addictive than crack cocaine. They initially feared potential lawsuits from permanent injury or death to their consumers in the future. However, when the profits came back, they decided that the future liability would be easily offset. Monsanto is just one company that has repeatedly walked away relatively unscathed over the past century, compared to those who have crossed their path due to their unlimited financial resources and the powerful people on their payroll. Criminological theories of white-collar crimes. There are numerous theories that can be implemented to describe white-collar crimes and the people who commit them. In this section, we are going to focus on Acker's social learning theory and Cohen and Felsen's routine activity theory. Criminological theories of white-collar crimes. Acker's social learning theory. Acker's social learning theory has four main elements to explain how corruption can occur. Differential association. When someone is exposed to criminal acts by members of their peer group, there is a greater likelihood for them participating in the same deviant behaviour. Definitions. When someone justifies or excuses deviant behaviour based on their own moral compass. Differential reinforcement. When someone chooses to participate or refrain from deviant behaviour based on prior experience or future anticipation of receiving a reward or punishment. And imitation. This happens when someone mimics someone else's actions. Criminological theories of white-collar crimes. Cohen and Felsen's routine activity theory. Cohen and Felsen formulated routine activity theory in 1979. Their theory incorporated three factors which need to be in play in order for routine activity theory to take place. The convergence of space and time, along with the three factors being likely offenders, suitable targets, and an absence of capable guardians, are essential for routine activity theory to take place within an organisation. Likely offenders are those who hold a position of power within an organisation who may become motivated into partaking in corrupt activities. Suitable targets are those who have a vulnerability to be exploited because they entrust the likely offenders to act honestly and with transparency. Absence of capable guardians is the lack of someone in a higher position above the likely offenders who are able to hold them accountable for any wrongdoings. Cybercrime. Cybercrime is any kind of criminal activity that uses a computer, network, or a device connected to the internet or intranet. The majority of cybercrimes are committed by hackers and commonly use tactics to steal money or cause disruption to individuals or organizations. According to Kaspersky 2020, the most common styles of cybercrime include email and internet fraud, identity fraud, where personal information is stolen and used, theft of financial or card payment data, theft and sale of corporate data, cyber extortion, which is demanding money to prevent a threatened attack, ransomware attacks, which is a type of cyber extortion, cryptojacking, where hackers mine cryptocurrency using resources they do not own, and cyber espionage, where hackers access government or company data. The effects of cybercrime on organisations is reportedly growing dramatically. The global cost in 2018 was nearly $600 billion, compared to $45 billion in 2014. Security breaches can have an effect on many aspects of an organisation, such as a drop in share prices. Losing customers' sensitive information can result in fines. Customers' and shareholders' trust will be diminished if data is unable to be kept secure, and this results in loss of customers and the inability to regain new clients. Corporate crime. Corporate crimes are committed within an organisation with the purpose of benefiting either the corporation as a whole or adding personal gain for those in power within an organisation. These crimes can include price fixing, workplace health and safety violations, and detrimental effects to the environment. Johnston and Ward 2010 explained that corporate crime is handled in a different manner compared to ordinary street crimes by using regulatory agencies such as compliance officers rather than police officers. Rather than minimising the organisation's criminal behaviour, the agencies focus more so on controlling the actions of the company to maintain the safety and well-being of employees, consumers, and the environment. Policing white-collar crime. Even though it has been established that white-collar crime is far more costly to society compared to ordinary street crime, it is frequently overlooked due to the status or political power the perpetrators hold. According to Bond 2017, in America, the annual cost of white-collar crime is nearly $1 trillion, as opposed to ordinary street crime, which sits close to $15 billion. Instead of police officers apprehending and charging white-collar criminals in Australia, it is left to regulators to manage organisational mismanagement. The three main corporate regulators in Australia are the Australian Consumer and Competition Commission, ACCC, the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, ASIC, and the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, APRA. Criminological theories of corruption. Principal agent theory. Jensen and Meckling, 1976, introduced this theory to explain how to avoid the separation of ownership and control between organisations and their clients. When it comes to corruption, principal agent theory occurs when a person, the agent, has the power to make decisions for another person, the principal. Because of the inequality of power, the agent is expected and entrusted to act in the best interests of the principal. Unfortunately, in some circumstances, the agent acts in their own best interest to the detriment of the principal, and this is when corruption occurs. One example of principal agent theory could be politicians acting as agents and the citizens who elected them into power as the principals. One way to minimise or eliminate the effects or occurrence of principal agent theory will be to equalise the interests of both the agent and the principal, and when corruption occurs, holding the agent accountable for their actions. Criminological theories of corruption. Collective action theory. Collective action theory focuses on the thought that when corruption is seen as normal or standard behavior within a group, individuals will be less likely to avoid acting in a corrupt manner or to initiate remedies to implement reform within an organisation. Political corruption. Political corruption is when a government official or other political forces who are in charge of making decisions for others misuse the position of power. Society expects public officials to uphold their duties to a high standard, which is in the best interests of those that they are in charge of serving. Public officials who engage in corrupt conduct risk damaging the reputation of not only themselves, but also their associates, as well as the organisation they represent. It also wastes resources and public money when inquiries are lodged to investigate their deviant behaviour.